Hello and welcome back to Storytime with Ranger Nathan. I'm, of course, Ranger Nathan, and I'm a park ranger at Rosie the Riveter World War II Homefront National Historical Park. Today we'll be reading the 12th and final chapter of V for Victory, a part of the Homefront Heroes book series by Teresa Funk, who has given us permission to read today. We have already gone through so much in this book, but chapter 11 was really action-packed, with the biggest kind of event happening would be Victor unfortunately walking off and falling down the coal chute in the abandoned home in the Miguel's neighborhood. He broke his leg, but they were able to get him out safely with the help of Alfonso. And so let's find out how this book ends with the final chapter, 12, V for Victory. Papa backs the delivery truck into the alley and right up near the Mueller's back fence. He drops the tailgate and I help him lift the brass headboard into the bed of the truck. Then I rush back for the lawnmower. Looks like this thing's seen better days, Papa says as I roll it squeaking and squealing up the truck. What else you got? Not much, I say. Just a few things Alfonso cleared out of his house. The Wagner boys got the rest. Now, Miguel, you don't know for sure it was them. We'd know if we'd have gone with me to their house to check. The Wagners are regular customers. We can't go accusing their boys when there's no proof. I don't need proof to know it was them, but there's no use arguing. Papa's mind is made up, and I've been on my best behavior since the accident with Victor. Trying to make up for what I did, I guess, though no one's holding it against me. To my astonishment, Juanita told him it was as much her fault as mine, and since Victor wound up with only a small fracture, no one stayed too upset for long, especially when later that day a letter arrived, special delivery, from a member of Ernesto's bomber squadron. He said he'd seen Ernesto's plane go down and the crew bail out. He wanted us to know how much my brother was loved and respected by his comrades, and how much they were pulling for him. He couldn't give any more details, but just hearing that Ernesto had made it out of the plane gave us hope. We'll hear from the Red Cross or the Army telling us where he is. I just know it. Rose has written at least half a dozen letters already, and it's just waiting to hear where to send them. I've written one or two myself. Papa runs back to the house to get his wallet. Lucky comes sauntering up. Hiya, Luck. Need help? He asks. Already done. Not much to load. I stare at the ground. I forgot to tell you, Lucky. The Wagner boys stole our stash. Lucky shakes his head. Real sorry to hear that. Guess you won't be getting that bike now. The bike. I'd forgotten all about it. Seems so unimportant now. And you won't be getting your glasses. Oh, I got that all worked out. How? Mr. Garza's cough has gotten worse. He's taken to his bed. Doc says he'll likely finish out his days there. I shake my head. Can't picture Mr. Garza gone. He's been sitting in that lawn chair as long as I can remember. He aims to be there no matter what the doc has to say. He just might do it too. That man is stubborn as a mule. But for now, he's given me 5 cents a day to watch his property. I laugh. He sure is crazy about his yard. Mama says Mr. Garza was born hard scramble poor in Mexico. He never dreamed he'd own a house as fine as that one. Never has gotten over being proud of it. How are you going to watch it when school starts? Guess I go there before school and when I come home for lunch, and I'll sit there every evening and keep the kids off his yard. I frown. What about the Wagner boys? You can't stand up to them. Well, when there comes a need, I can run pretty fast. Lucky helps me close the tailgate to the truck, and we stand on the tires to look in. We could have won if I had gotten that fence, I say. Oh, Mr. Garza's jalopy. Guess your luck wasn't with us this time, I say. Oh, I don't know, Lucky says, hopping down. Found this penny on the sidewalk on the way over. Heads up. See you at the movies, Luck, I say. Yeah, see ya. I don't think to offer Lucky a ride. He'll take the bus to the theater with his friends, sitting in the back with the other black children, and then he'll watch the movies from the colored section in the fifth floor balcony while Gary and I sit below. When we pull into Gary's drive, Papa gets out to return Mrs. Bauer's casserole dish for Mama. Gary grabs my arm. Come up and see the model. Now? But we gotta hurry. There's time. My mother will talk your father's ear off for at least 5 minutes. We bound upstairs to Gary's room. He flings the door open and lifts the model carefully off his desk. Grinning from ear to ear, I take my cue from Gary and whistle appreciatively. Wow, that's a humdinger, Gary. He hands it to me, and I turn it from side to side, admiring the shiny stickers on the wings, twisting the propeller, peering into the tiny plastic windows, and imagining I can see the pilot inside. Where are you going to put this one? Don't know. I'm kind of running out of room. Thought maybe you could hang it up in your room for me. maybe over Victor's crib, but you gotta hang it high so he won't go tearing it down. I can't take your plane, Gary, I say. Oh, I'm not giving it to you, just asking you to store it for me for a while, just till I figure out a place for it. I grin. Okay, I'll pick it up after the movies. You can come for supper and help me hang it. Victor will love it. I set the model plane down gently on his desk. Got something else for you too, he says. Hold out your hand. I do as he tells me, and he lays a piece of wing from the plane wreck on my palm. Put it in the scrap pile. Won't make up for what the Wagner brothers stole, but it'll help. Gary's face is red, and I know he feels responsible for our lost loot. This is his way of making up for it. I've been thinking a lot about the co-pilot who died in the crash and the one from our neighborhood. There's a gold star in his family's window now. You were right. I shouldn't keep it. I smile at my friend and close my hand around the piece of wing. Thanks, Gary. My father calls us, and we leave the room. Pulling the chain on the overhead light as we go at the theater. At the theater, the kids have already started lining up. Being first in line is always a big deal. Some of the kids are holding sacks of scrap, others have brought wagons along. The manager is telling them to wait till the doors open and then they can pile their stuff in the lobby. Papa leans out the window of the truck and says, What about us? He indicates the bed of the truck with his thumb. The manager looks flustered as the Wagner truck pulls up behind ours. Papa and Mr. Wagner climb out as the manager scratches his head. Well, now, you can't bring that stuff inside. You'll have to drive it down to Municipal Auditorium and dump it there. Let me see first who's got the most. Gary and I scramble out of the truck and stand on the tires as the manager inspects our load. From this height, we can see into the bed of Mr. Wagner's truck, and there's the furnace all right, cut down to pieces and lying amidst the other scrap. While the theater manager is dealing with another truck that has pulled up front, my father waves me over to the Wagner truck. Fine load you boys got there, Papa says, leaning his arms on the slats of the truck. I don't suppose anyone will beat this. The Wagner boys don't answer. Awfully good of your uncle to donate that furnace. Looks like a few other people pitched in too, he says, reaching into the bed of the truck. He pulls out a shiny, almost new bedpan, what could only have come from the Sisters of the Holy Ghost. So my father had been paying attention this time. I thought it was awfully clever of you boys to go in on this with Miguel and Gary. Nice of you to keep so much of it at your house, too. We don't have much room at ours these days. Of course, it means you'll have to split the $20 four ways, but it's worth it in the end. If you win, right? And it's for the war effort. Tug puffs out his chest like he's going to say something. Though he's only 14 years old, he's already taller than my father. But just then, Mr. Wagner strides over. Afternoon, Herb, my father says, just congratulating your boys. Real smart for them to go in with my son and his friends to get as much as they could. Many hands make light work, isn't that how the Anglo saying goes? Mr. Wagner glances at his sons, and they both look away. As understanding spreads across his face, he turns to my father and nods. You tell Miguel to come by this evening, and I'll make sure he gets his share. I'll do that. Guess we better take our loads to the auditorium. Tug and his brothers sneer at me as we pass. You boys better steer clear of those two for a while, Papa says, but his warning is unnecessary. We've been steering clear of the Wagner boys for years. As I run around to hop into the cab of the truck, Papa says, Why don't you boys stay here? Get in line for the movies. I can manage on my own. You sure, Papa? I'm sure. Thanks, Papa, I say, and we scramble into the drugstore to load up on popcorn and candy for a long afternoon. After the matinee, Rosa picks us up in the car. She's been running errands downtown. As she pulls up to the curb, Victor's head pops up in the window. He pulls himself up and bounces up and down in excitement to see us, the cast on his leg doing little to slow him down. Rosa pulls him into her lap as Gary and I push the front seat forward and climb him back. There will be no Cokes today. We're going home. Abuelo is coming home tonight, and we're all going to eat supper together. Not even Juanita is going out. As the car rolls through town, Victor stands on the seat looking out the window. Rosa tells me to keep hold of his shirt so he won't fall out. Gary and I are filling her in on the movie when the crossing arms come down at the railroad tracks and a troop train rolls slowly in front of the car. I heave myself over the seat and sit on the ledge of the car window, pulling Victor up beside me. Choo-choo, he says. That's right, Victor, choo-choo. Daddy, he says, and I see him pointing to the soldiers in uniform leaning out of the train windows and waving back. I push my finger down gently and lock eyes with Rosa. No, Victor, not Daddy, I say, and I remember that Abuelo said about the soldiers he'd seen in his lifetime, all the trains full of men going off to war, all the women and children they left behind. I think about Alfonso and the medals he showed me now packed away in a box, and wonder how old Victor will be when the war ends. I remember Rosa telling us his name when he was born, Victorino. She had said, "He's my little good luck charm. He'll bring us victory so his daddy can come home." I look at Victor and hope it's still true, that one day we'll be gathered around the table again. Papa and Mama, Abuelo, Abuelita, Tia Sylvia and Carlos, Juanita, Victor, Rosa, and me to welcome Ernesto home. I take Victor's pudgy fingers and form them into the V for victory sign. I hold it high up so the soldiers can see. One soldier sends us a V back, and it's good to see, but Victor just sticks his fingers in his mouth. I shake my head at him. "Guess what I saved for you, Victor," I say, and pull a half-eaten roll of Necco wafers from my pocket. All of a sudden, I wrinkle my nose and lower him gently back to the seat. "Oh, brother," Gary says as the smell reaches the back seat. "Now you boys be nice," Rosa scolds. "Someone changed your dirty diapers once, you know." As the train rolls by and the crossing arms go back up, we sit in the back seat, holding our noses and laughing as Victor gobbles up the candy. The end. Thank you so much for joining us for V for Victory. I hope you all learned a lot about what it was like to live in the home front, whether you were a soldier returning from war, if you had family members that were off fighting in the war, or even just what it was like to be a child. It's certainly interesting and entertaining. A lot of moments of happiness, but also moments of injustice and sadness as well. And it's important to preserve all of that and learn from it. Thank you so much for joining us again for this Homefront Heroes book series, and that is V for Victory by Teresa Funk. Thank you.